Okay, so what is a class in programming in general? We use classes with different programming language, for example, C++, Java, C#, Python. Those are object-oriented programming. Let's say Python is multi-paradigm, just like JavaScript. And object-oriented programming, that means everything should be a class. Okay, so we will have a class, and from this class, we can create different objects. So the building block of your application, it will be an object, and we can create objects from classes. Again, object-oriented programming means that the simplest code in your application, it must be an object. Now, if we go to, for example, procedural paradigm, is the simplest code in your, or the simplest piece in your code. It could be a function, it could be a variable, that's fine. But in object-oriented programming, everything needs to be inside an object. Is the idea clear? So in object-oriented programming, everything needs to be the simplest part of your application, the simplest block of your application need to be an object. To create an object, of course, we can use classes. And I may ask you this question, what is a class? Can anyone tell me what is a class? We just mentioned it before. What is a class? What is a class in programming? Mm-hmm. Hmm? Sorry? It's okay, you can just guess. What is a class? Sorry? So a class is simply a template to create different objects. For example, if I create a class human normally has, any human has 2 hands. He has 2 legs. He has normally a name. He has eye color. He has hair color and stuff like that. So I can create one class called human, and after that, I can use it with John, with Jack, with whatever I want to. Why? Because John and Jack, that belong to humans. So I can use the same class just to create different, let's say, humans. Is the idea clear? Let's say car. If I want to specify or describe different cars, I can create one class, name it car, and the car normally has a model. Normally it has a year of production. So when it's being built, normally it has a color and normally stuff like that. So I can build one class called car, and I can define all the property and also the method, the function. And after that, whenever I want to create any, let's say, a new object about any car, I can use the same class here and pass some data, and I will have my object. Okay, how can I define a class in JavaScript? I will create a class button. By convention, we name our classes. Which convention we use to name our classes? Camel casing, snake casing, or kebab casing, or Pascal casing? So what's the convention we use to name our classes? It's called Pascal case. No, you know camel case here, camel case, if we have multiple words, the first word, it will start with lowercase. Each other word, it will start with uppercase, right? That's what we use in JavaScript. But Pascal case, each word will start with capital case. That's the convention. So to name my classes, just like in React component, we start with uppercase, right? Same idea here. So I'm gonna now create a class called button, and as you can see, I make it uppercase. That's the convention. GSX. Fine. Now no, actually, I just want to create JS, not JSX. Kind of used to React, so all the time I'm using JSX. Okay, JS. So how can I create a class in JavaScript? Well, it's quite simple. I have a keyword for that, so I can just say class, and now I need to give my class a name. Let's, for example, create a class called a human, for example, or maybe dog, for example. Let's just do dog like that. Now, after that, all I have to do, I need to create a set of curly braces like that. That's it. I don't have equal, I don't have anything. Just class, the keyword class, the name of the class, which need to start with uppercase. It will be the, why? It should be button, actually. Why do I name it dog? Button. Sorry for that. But anyway, so let's name it button. And after that, I will have set of curly braces. That's what we call the body of the class. It's just like the body of the function. Okay. Now, inside a class in JavaScript, we have a special method which is available automatically for you. We call it constructor. You don't have to define it. It's automatically available for you. So if I click enter and I type constructor, as you can see, voila, I have constructor. And this constructor is the method. It's a function simply. Voila. So why this constructor is very special? Can anyone tell me why this constructor is very special? Why this constructor is special?
Because it's called string.
Yeah. Why this constructor is special?
We define property here.
Hmm?
We define property here.
Yes, but there is another reason. Let me do something in the constructor. Let me log something. Let me log hello button constructor, for example. Now, let me create an instant from this class. Do you know how to create an instant from the class? Come on. We can use the keyword new as the name of the class. So now I want to create an object. I want to create an object from this class. Remember, everything I create from the class, it will be an object. Everything I created from the class, it will be automatically an object. So let's, for example, I will name it const button1, for example, btn1, const btn1. It's equal to new. I need to use the keyword new and the name of my class, button. Now, if I log this guy here, let me do second time, third time here. Let me do this, log const button3, voila. So I need to create an HTML, otherwise I will not be able to see the result here. So let me create an index.html. And now what I need to do, I will create just a template, voila, and I need to link my script here. So let me link my button here for now. Script, it will be source and ./button.js. Let's do that. Let's open that in live server. And if I open it in my live server and I go here and I refresh, I have something here strange, right? I have something strange here. In the console, I have something strange. Can anyone tell me what is this strange? What do I have in the console? I have log, which is button constructor 3 times. Why? Why 3 times?
Create 3.3.
Exactly. So the constructor, each time I use this class to create a new object, or we call it instant, the constructor will run automatically. That's why the constructor is very special. So the constructor, every time I use this class to create a new object or a new instant, they're the same, instant or object the same. This, whatever code in the constructor will run automatically. Is the idea clear? And that's the reason why we assign our variable here. Because each time I create an instant, everything in the constructor, it will run automatically. Okay? So again, to create a class, I need to use a keyword class. I will name my class, and we are using Pascal convention, Pascal naming convention. That means every word, if I have multiple words, all of them start with uppercase, okay? After that, I have a special method or function. It's available inside the class automatically. It's called constructor. And this constructor will run each time I create an instant from this class. What is the instant? What is the instant? It's the object here. Now the instant is btn1, btn2, btn3. That's the instant. It's just the object. Let me log button1, button2, button3 just to convince you it's an object. Log btn1, btn2, btn3. Yes, thank you. Come on. Log btn3. So now if I go to my console, as you can see, what is button1, button2, button3? It's an object. So each time I create an instant, focus with me, guys, this is important. Each time I create an instant from a class, it will be an object. If I want it or I don't want it, it will be an object. Okay, we understand what is the constructor. We understand each time I want to create an instant from this class, it will be an object or instant. And for now, let's try to build our button. So what do I want from my button? Well, I want to create, let's say, 10 buttons. I want now to create 10 buttons. I want to use this class to create 10 buttons. And this button, each time I click on this button, it will log something. So button 1 click, button 2 click, button 3 click, and so on. So how can I achieve that? Any idea? How can I achieve that? Well, first I need to have my data. So let's create const. I can name it btn data. It's equal to, now I will have an array. So here I will have different object for different button. Each button must have a unique ID. Let's name it 1. And button normally has a text or not? The button has a text, so I will add a text. And also normally maybe I can add some classes to my button if I want to. Yes, it will be nice if I was able to add some classes to my button. Normally, I don't want to add one class. Maybe I can add multiple classes. But how can I do that? What will be the good data structure to use when I have multiple buttons? For example, an object or an array, or what do you think it will be? So if I have multiple classes, so I will name it classes. What do you think the best structure will be? Array. Why array? Because I easily can loop through them. Okay. So now here I will just name it classes, the property classes like that. And here I have btn primary. I have 2 classes here. You can pass 1 classes, by the way, if you want to. It's fine. You can pass no classes if you want to. It's fine as well. But now, because I have an array, I can pass 100 class or 1 class or none class. It doesn't matter. So the button has an ID, text, classes, and also I need to pass something else. Can anyone tell me what it is? On click, maybe? So I can pass on click. And this on click function, whenever I click on my button, it will log button 1 clicked for now. But I don't want to create 1 button. I want to create more buttons. So button 2, button 3. Let me now create 3 buttons. I will go to my index.html. I'm going to add a div here with ID root, just so I can put my button here. Let me add an ID. Actually, it will be better. ID root. Now you know why I'm using ID root, because that's conventional React. Okay. But I have a small stuff. In the constructor, I need some data, because now if I don't pass some data to my constructor or to my class, all the button will be the same. I don't want all the button be the same. They cannot be the same, because button 1 is different from button 2, is different from button 3, is different from button 4, and so on, right? So what could be the good option? Maybe I can pass, whenever I create an instant, I can pass an object, because my button data, what is my button data? One button data, what it is? An object. So here I can pass btn data, btn data, like that. So let me remove this one. Now, in btn data, I am passing data to my class. Inside my class, I have something called this. It's a keyword, this. Can anyone tell me what this is inside the class? So what is the keyword this inside the class? So inside the class, what is the keyword this? What's that supposed to mean? What it refers to what? It refers to my class, or it refers to what? It's okay, you can just guess. No, that's my data. This. What do you think this refer to? Let me create an instant again. Const btn1, it's equal to new btn. I can pass btn data. But now, of course, I need to pass an object. It will not work. So let me pass an object, because I need to pass an object. Of course, I need to pass an ID. Let's name it something 1. No, maybe 6. And I need to pass text and classes and on click. Okay, fine. So as you can see now, I'm trying to create a new object or instant from my class. And here I am passing my data. So I'm passing my data, as you can see, to my class. This data, it will be received in the constructor. So whenever I'm passing my data to the class, so I need to pass an object, because button data is an object. That's what we agreed on. Here, it's not one button, it's multiple button, as you can see. So I put it inside an array. But one button, when I'm trying to create one button, the data, it will be an object. I have an ID, I have a text, I have a classes, and I have on click. That's fine. Now, what does this keyword refer to? Okay, this keyword actually, it refers to the instant or the object I created from the class. So this here, it refers to this guy, this instance, this object. Okay, now whenever I create an instant or an object from the class, I need to have its own data, right? The data must be different from the second object. They must be different from the third object. If they are not different, it will be the same. And that's the reason why I need to say this dot, this does mean my instant, my object dot data, let's name it data, it's equal to btn data. So what I am doing here, I'm telling, okay, this instance, this button data, I want it to be equal to the data I am passing. So this keyword refer to the instant. Now, because I create an instant, this btn, it will refer to this one. Second time, when I create a new instance, this keyword, it will refer to the new instant, and so on and so on and so on. So this keyword always refer to the object, the instant I created from the class. Is the idea clear? Yes, no. It's important to know what this refer to. Okay. But now I will be a little bit smart. I'll try to be smart a little bit. What I want to do, I want to create a function here, and this function here, I will name it, for example, let's name it, what did I name it in my project? Because I give it good naming. Let me just check here. I want you also to use the same naming, actually. JavaScript, let me go here. Basic calculator, yes, I should have some naming here. Let's go to this class. So I name it initialize data. And I want you also to use the same function, initialize data. So I'm going to create a new function here. And notice inside the class how we can create a function. So it's just the name of the function. I don't need to use any keyword, just the name of the function, because I am inside the class. So here there's a parenthesis, and voila, now that's a function, initialize data. And what do I name the second one? I name it DOM, if I'm not, create DOM element, voila. So why I'm using the same name? Because most of the time when we create a different class, it's a good idea to stick with one naming. And now we will see why I'm creating this different function. So I created two different functions. What are these two different functions? First is initialize data. What do I mean by initialize data? Well, I mean, I'm going to grab the data I am passing to my or coming to my constructor. And after that, I will add the data I need to my instance. How can I do that? Well, it's quite simple. I can call my function here, notice. And then now here, I can just pass my button data, btn data. So inside the function, I can call function inside another function in the class. It's okay. So as you can see, I am calling this function and I'm passing this data. That means I will receive this data here. Wow, that's nice. Now, what data do I need to, whenever I create an object, what different data do I need? Well, I need same ID. I will need the text. I will need the classes, and I will need also on click. So now what I need to do all the time, I need to say this dot ID, it will be equal to btn dot ID. Why again I'm using this? Because this here refer to this object. That means the data I am passing, the ID of the data I am passing, I want to be the ID of my object I create. The text of I'm passing, I want it to be the text inside this button. The on-click function I am passing, I want it to belong to this button here, which will be an object. So I need to say this dot ID, this dot text, it's equal to btn dot text. This dot classes, it will be btn dot classes, and also this dot on click, it will be, I need to say this dot on click, it's equal to btn dot on click. So I kind of grab all the data I am passing. So this data I am passing to my class, and then I assign all this data to my object. Now here, if I log my object, let's try to log my object here. It's called btn, yeah, but I need to give it, no, btn is fine. Log btn. If I log my btn now, and I go to my references, initialized data is not defined. Why is not defined? Initialized data. Yeah. Actually, it's defined. Who told you it's not defined? Initialized data is not defined. Reference error. Strange. Well, let me make it, but I make it arrow function, it will not work. Not sure why is it giving me this one. Just give me a second. Let's go basic calculator. Let me go to the class. Let me go to the button. Yeah, because I'm missing something important. Yeah. Let me actually, before I call my initialize this guy here, let me log the BTN. Let me go to the BTN, refresh it. My BTN is empty. If I click on my BTN and I go to the prototype, I have something here, right? What do I have here? What do I have here in this button? What do I have here?
Function that
I have two functions, create DOM element and initialize data. Okay, this function, I did not create them in BTN. I create them on the class. And that's actually the advantage of the class. That means each time I create an object from this class, I will automatically pass this function to any object I create. So each object I create from this class, they will automatically have these two instant. But now to call this function here, I just need to go first to the object. So this, I need to say the object because my function doesn't exist in the object. This dot, and as you can see, I have my both function, create, initialize data I want. I'm passing my data like that. And voila. So I'm calling both my function here, this dot initialize data, I'm passing the data, and now all of them being initialized. And the second one here, I need to create my DOM element. Fine. What do I need to create for DOM element? So now I just defined my data. Now in my object, this dot ID, the ID of my object is 6 because I'm passing it to the constructor. The text of my button is btn6. The classes is btn and btn danger. On click, it will be here on click console.log button 6 click. Now my question for you, what different, I'm trying to create different DOM element for my button. What do I need to create? So to create a button, what do I need to create in JavaScript? How can I create a button in JavaScript? We are using JavaScript. How can I create a button? Const button, it's equal to document dot create element. So now I'm creating my button. Yeah, it's simply like that. Okay, now I want to add the ID here, this dot ID to my button. How can I do that? Simple. Button dot ID dot ID, it's equal to this dot ID. Remember, all the time when I want to access this data, I need to use this. Why? Because as you can see, I'm saying this dot ID, this dot text, this dot classes, this dot on click. So each time I want to access any of this data, I need to use this. Okay. So now I define the ID. I want to add my text. How can I add my text?
text.
So I can just say button dot inner text or inner HTML if you want to. It will be equal to this dot text. Voila. Simple. How can I add my classes? How can I add my classes?
Button dot class name this dot add.
Yeah, but maybe first I can loop through the classes because it's an array, and then I can add my classes to the bottom. So how can I do that? It's quite simple. I can just say this dot classes dot for each because it's an array. And here I'm gonna use a class name. Why I cannot use class? Why I cannot use class? And it's a reserved keyword, so I'm using a class name. And voila, so I would just say btn.classless.add. And that's the reason why I make them an array, because like that I can loop through them. And for each class I want to add it, btn.classless.add, voila. Now I have just one property I need to add, which is on click. How can I add on click to a button? First, I need to add event listener. So how can I add an event listener? Well, it's simple, btn.add event listener, and then it will be this dot on click. Voila. Will I execute this dot on click? Should I execute it or not? Should I execute it? Do we normally, when we add the handler, we execute our handler or no? No, we don't execute it, so we'll keep it this way. That's nice. So now my question for you, why I am calling this dot create DOM in the constructor? Why? Why I am doing that in the constructor?
So it can render it directly.
Because each time I create a button, this function runs automatically and creates the DOM element as the data for me. And that's the reason why I'm adding it to the constructor. So each time I create a button, as you can see, I will have this button object data, new data, and then I will have a new DOM for them. And that's simply it is. Voila. Do I need to add another classes or I'm sorry, do I need to add another function or method to my classes here? Do I need to add more? Yes. Now if I go to the bottom here, how can I grab this button? I am not grabbing this button. What should I do? Notice here, I am not grabbing this button here. Am I returning this button? Okay, I'm not returning the button, so maybe I need to return the button, right? Or maybe I can create another function specifically for that. No, not. Actually, let me return the button. It's okay. I just need to return. I will not append it. I will just return my button. So I have my DOM element. I've added my ID. I've added my inner text. I have added my classes. I add my on click, everything. That's fine. I've added all my data to this, which will be my object. That's fine. Maybe I can add another method. What if I want to get rid of the button? Can I create a method to get rid of the button? Maybe I will need it. I don't know. Do you think I will need it or not? Yes. So I can create two other methods. Remember, each method I'm creating, it will be available on all the object. So maybe I can add two other methods. And this other method, I will name it render. And render normally means that whenever I want to render my DOM element, I can use this render here. Okay, now what do I need to do this render? Well, all I need to do, I need to actually return this guy here, which is create, because if I call this function, it will return me the button. And render here, I want to return the button. So what I can do here, I can just say this dot, or I can just say return this dot create DOM. Voila. Now, whenever I say my button, so button here, dot render, it will return me a button. So it will return me my button. It will execute this function. It will add an ID, create a button, add an ID, add inner text, add everything, and then it will return me my button here. Maybe I can add another method, which is called destroy. Can anyone tell me why I name it destroy? Yeah, so in case I want to destroy the button, I can destroy it very simply. How can I destroy a button? This dot remove, yes. So I can now destroy. I can name it, you can name it whatever you want to, by the way. So here, what I can do here in destroy, I can just say button document dot get element by ID, which is this dot ID button dot remove. I'm removing the on click. I don't want to remove the on click. So let me just push it this way. So I'm selecting the button here, and then I'm removing it. But I don't like this strategy. Come on. I don't like this strategy. I don't like to select my button. Maybe I can do something else. What do you think? Can I do something else here? So instead of selecting the button this way, the ugly way, maybe I can do something else. Can I do something else? Yes, no? Maybe I can store my button inside this. So for example, I can just say here, in render, it doesn't matter really, in render, or maybe here when I'm creating the DOM, I can just say here, this dot DOM, or this button, it's equal to button. Now my button is saved inside the object. So when I say this dot button is equal to button, that means my button now stored inside this object. So now here I don't need to select it anymore. I can access it directly. I can just say this dot button dot remove, and voila. And here I just need to excuse this function, and I don't need this one. Did you understand what I did here? Okay, this, I told you it's the object, right? This is an object. So what I can do, I can save my button I created inside this object. And because I have access to this everywhere inside my class, I can just say this dot button dot remove. And here I don't have to select it. Simple. Is the idea clear? Of course, this class is fine, but it is not really well structured. I don't like this way. I'll just show you, but now I need to show you how to do it the right way, really. So how can we do it the right way? Any idea? Any idea how can we do it more structured, more organized way? Can we do it in more organized way? So here, instead of just doing all of this stuff, I can do something else maybe. Instead of doing all of that, simply I can just say this dot data. I can create an object. Voila. And here, as you can see, I can have an ID. And the ID simply, it will be this dot ID. No, actually, it will be btn data dot ID. So I can just say btn btn data dot ID, btn data dot ID. Voila. So now I'm gonna remove all of that because they are different property. All of them are just over the place. I'm gonna input them, all of them inside one object. Like that, I'm organizing my code better. So here I will name it this dot data. It's now it's equal to ID, and now I need to add text, and I need to add classes, and also I need to add on click. Which way do you think better? Put everything inside one object, and remember the object here is inside this, so I can access it any place I want to inside my class. Which way do you think it's better? Like that, we will have less error. And like that, our code, our data, all of our data, it will be inside one object. Can I do the same for DOM? Can I do the same for DOM? So maybe instead of doing all of this stuff, I can just say this dot DOM, it's equal to an object. And now here I can create my button this way. Voila. That's all I need to do. I will not need those for now. I will explain why. So if you remember in separation of concern, what I'm missing here, I have extra stuff. In separation of concern, I have this dot data, right? So I have my data object. So as you can see, this dot data, I put all my data inside one object. And also I have DOM. So this dot DOM, I put all my DOM element inside one object. Now I can come to render. So what normally render mean? Render mean I will put my data inside my DOM element, and then I will return the DOM element. And now I can take all my code here. So instead of doing this one here, instead of doing all this code, what I can do, how can I access my button now in the render? How can I access my button or my DOM? How can I access my button here? So this is available in all the class. So I can say this dot DOM dot button. And what should I add first? I can add first the ID. So I can say dot ID, what it is equal to. So this dot DOM dot button, what is equal to? It should equal the ID. Where is my ID? This dot data dot ID. And that's what render mean. This dot data dot ID. Voila. So render method normally means I will take my DOM element. Remember, I create the DOM element here in create DOM elements. That's why I name the function create DOM element. Initialize data because I save all my data here. And render mean I take my data, put them inside the DOM element. Now all I have to do is I can access this in any place in my class. So I can say this dot DOM because I have an object here called DOM. Dot button because button inside it. Dot ID. It will be equal. Now I need to access my data. This dot data dot ID. Nice. Now here I can do the same for my inner text. Same idea. And now here I need to add my classes. So how can I add my classes? I need to loop through my classes. So how can I loop through my classes? How can I access this class and loop through them? This dot data dot classes for each. And voila, here it will be this dot data dot button. And I will add this class on it, and I need to close it. Voila. I have the last one, and I need to add event listener. So how can I access my button again? This dot DOM dot button, add event listener, click, and voila. What should I return at the end of render? What should I return at the end of render? I will return the button. Why? Because whenever I am inside the object, I want to get the button. When I say render, I execute the function, I need to get the button. So that's the reason why I will render or return my button. This dot DOM dot button. That's okay. How can I destroy the button? It's simple. To destroy the button, how can I access the button? This dot DOM dot button dot remove. And simple. Where is remove? Dot remove. And voila. That will be the structure we will use all the time to create any class. So first, I will have a constructor. I will pass my data. Then I will create two functions. Initialize data. Why? Because I want to store this data I am passing inside this. And this here, it will be the object I created. So how can I do that? Well, I will just say this dot initialize data. That's mean. Why? Because this function here exists on the object. They belong to the object. So I can say this dot, this is my object, execute the initialized data, and I'm passing my data here. So here I receive my data. And here I'm receiving everything inside this dot data. So now I have an object data inside this. I want to create my DOM element. So I need also to call it in the constructor. Voila. I don't need any data. I don't need to pass the data to here. Why? Can anyone tell me why I don't need to pass the data here? I will need the data, of course, maybe, but here I'm not passing my data here. Why? Because I already saved them inside this. So these dot data. So whenever I want to access them, I can just use the keyword this. Okay? So I save them already here. The first function, when it executed, it will save all my data inside an object inside this. So I can say just this dot data to grab my data. Clear? So now any place in my class, if I want to grab my data, I just say this dot data. It will be an object. Any place I want to grab my my DOM, this dot DOM, and it will give me whatever I want to. Anytime I want to execute any function inside the class, I will just say this DOM, the name of the class, and I can execute it. And that's simply the simple class here. I'm gonna remove this guy here, and now I need to export my class. Why do I need to export my class?
You can import it.
Okay, by convention, normally each class should have its own file. So each time, each class you create, it should have its own file. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a new folder and I name it classes like that. And I'm going to remove the button to classes. And here is I can just create a new file and I can name it main.js, for example, main.js. And of course, now I need to change here from button to main.js. Main.js. Voila. Now, where I want to use my button now, I want to use it inside main. So I need to import it, right? How can I import my button? So I can simply say import button. Voila. So I import my button. And here I need to add .js. Don't forget to add .js. In React, we don't need, but here we need. Okay. Let's say I have, where is my data? I think I kept my data if I'm not mistaken. So let's see. No, I did not. Let me now create an array of 5 buttons. Each button data, it will be an object. And now from this 5 button, what I need to do, I need to for each create a button. And then I need to append it to the root. But I don't have the root. What should I do? So the root here, I didn't select it. What should I do?
Okay.
No, I need to select my root. How can I select my root? Const root, it's equal to document.getElement by ID. Not query selector, get by element by ID, it will be better. Get element by ID, and the ID is root. Simple. Now I need my data. Const btn data, which will be an array. Why array? Why array? Yes, so we can look through it. So for each button, what do I need? I need an ID, but I did not ask, so I need to add the ID here. Let's name it 1. Text, I need text or not? Of course, I need text. Color, I don't have color, I have classes.
After ID, you put comma.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you. So here I need classes. So I need to pass the same property as I defined inside my class. Otherwise, it will not work. So here I can just say classes, and here I can pass another array. For example, let's pass just btn for now. Btn and btn1, for example. I will need to pass a function, of course. And maybe in this function here, I will not pass function now. I will show you later why. I will not pass function. So I'm just passing ID text btn, and remember I need to pass on click. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Now let's add another object. So that's my second object. Thank you. Okay. I need to add my stuff here. Let me organize it a little bit. Let me add a few more buttons. Button 3, and let me add also button 4 and button 5. That should be enough. Okay, we still have some time. Okay, we are forgetting a comma here. So as you can see, I want to create 5 buttons. But how can I create 5 buttons? Well, it's simplest explanation here. I need to loop through my data. So let's loop through my data. I can just say btn data dot for each. What should I name the single one? Maybe I can name it button Maybe I can name it single button BTN, just like that. So what should I do now? Well, because now here, what button it will be here? What's this data it will be? It will be an object. So the first time it will be this one, the second time it will be this one, and so on and so on and so on. So what I can do now, I can create const BTN, let's name it 1. Const BTN, let's name it 1. You can name it whatever you want to. Now I need to create an instance. So it will be new button. And now I need to pass my data. So I'm passing my data, and here I will have an object. But remember, how can I grab the DOM element? Because yes, now I created my object. Let's log my object actually to show you. So let me log my object, BTN, like that. And let's go here. What the hell? I have a problem. Yes, so I have a problem here. Can anyone tell me why I cannot? So in the HTML, I need to use something, right? Type here must be module, right? Otherwise, I will not be able to use export import. And now here src, it will be /main. Where is my main? /. It looks like I don't have main.js. Or maybe I have. That's actually it's /. Yeah, I created a problem. Actually, this one should be out. Now it's okay. Fine. Now, as you can see, I have my button. Voila. And as you can see, remember when I create my data, I told you it's inside the object. So see, that's my data. I save all my data. That's the ID. That's on click. I don't have on click for now. I have the text. I have the classes. And remember my DOM. That's my DOM here. That's my button. And also, if I go to the prototype, I should have 2 functions here, right? Remember what was the function? Here, if I go to the prototype, I have create DOM, I have destroy, and I should have something called render. Now, when I use render, what does render return me? Render, remember, what does render return me? No, it would return an object, but what will it return me actually? What does render return? So it will return me a DOM element. Well, yes, DOM element is an object, but it will return me the button. And after that, because I have the button, can I append it to the root or not?
Yes.
Simple, I can append it to root. So what I can do here, let me just grab this one. Now, after I created my button, now I can say btn. So let me just remove this one for now. I have my root, so I can just say root.append or append child, but I cannot append my object. I cannot just append btn1. I need to say .render, and I need to execute the function render. And if I execute render, it will give me the DOM element, and voila. And now here, if I go to, see, button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, button 5. And of course, they have different classes. So if I inspect, see, it has different ID, it has different classes. Why? Because I'm using the keyword this. Each time I create the instance, this refer to this instance. So when I see this .data, or the object I create, it will have its own data, it will have its own DOM. When I create another object, it will have different data, different DOM. Okay? Now I still have one functionality I did not achieve. So I have my classes, I have everything, but I did not achieve, which is on click. So what I can do here on click, any idea? I don't want to create a different on click. I just want to create one on click. Maybe I can create a function here. So I can create a function. Can anyone tell me why I use a keyword function? Why did I use function declaration? Function, let's name it on click. And now here, what I can do here, this function here, it will receive by default this function. It will receive the ID. So let's receive the ID. And here I can just use backtick like that. And I can say button 1 ID clicked. Okay. So why did I use function declaration and I did not use arrow function? Because I'm planning to call this function here. So I cannot call a function before I create it. If it's an arrow function, it's not possible. But if it's function declaration, it is possible. So how can I do that? Maybe now what I can do, I can add on click to my data. But how can I add on click to my data? Any idea? Can I access my data in this BTN? Let me log it. Let's see. Can I access my data? Where is my data in BTN? And it's not log, it's console.log. Where is my data inside the btn? Come on, guys. Have you just seen it? btn. Let me name it one. Okay, one. Okay, let me go to the button here. If I want to access the data, where is the data? It's here, right? So I can go to the data and I say dot on click and I can add the button here. I can add the function here. Can I do that or not? Let's try to do that actually. Even before the data here. So what I can do, before I even create it, because I will need actually to this function inside before I create the class, I will need this function. So what I can do here, let me just remove this one. Let me go to my button here, btn. What btn it will be? What btn it will be, guys? It will be an object. So maybe I can go here and I say btn dot on click. Yes, it's equal to a function like that. Voila. And here, what do I need to do here? I need to say console.log btn, which will I need to pass the ID here. So this guy need to receive the ID. Can I receive the ID here or not? Can I receive the actually I don't need even the ID, but no, actually I will need the ID. Maybe I can just a second. Let me remove it and put it here. Actually, it will be much easier. So what I did every time I go through an object, I'm adding a new property which is called on click, and all I have to do here, I can just say log console.log because I don't want to repeat the function many times. I can access the button data btn data.id for each button, and voila, I've added here. So now all I have to do, let's see if that will work or not. Remove, click, btn1 clicked, btn2 click, btn3 click, btn4 click, btn5 click. And now if I go to my button data, this function also has been added. This function has been added to each one of those. Is the idea clear what I'm doing here? Yes, no? Is it clear what I'm doing here? So I'm looping through my button data. Then instead of adding a function to each one of those, well, I just add one function only. And this function, it will just log here button, and I'm taking the ID, btn ID, and click. And as you can see here now, if I want to create 20 button, well, it doesn't matter. It's super simple. All I have to do, what do I have to do if I want to create more button? What do I have to change? I only have to change the data. So when your code is good enough, all you need to do, just change your data. And so let's see if that will work. So now if I add a new button, let's add this way, and let's add one more, 10. If I go here, well, I have 10 buttons. Simple.
Automatization, huh?
Yeah, but that's the idea actually. That's how you do your code need to be good enough. So if you just change your data, automatically it will be respond your DOM element, everything, it will be automatically like that because some data coming from the server. So these data are changing on the server. So whatever the data, if the data correct, it should handle my DOM element and I can see them automatically. And that's how we build dynamic website actually. So here, if my button coming from the server, I don't care if it's a million button or 10 button or what button, it will create it. Okay? Yes, no? Good. So that simply is a class in JavaScript. So that's one example. I want you to understand well these keywords is. This keywords is in the class is always referred to the instant. That means when I create this button, it will be, at this time, it will be this object. When I create the second one, it will be here, this one. At the third time, it will be this one, and so on. And that's the reason why I say this dot data, because I want to save my data to my object. This dot data and this dot DOM, and after that, of course, I will inherit all the function inside my class to my object whenever I create it from, create an instance from the class. Is the idea clear? Agnieszka? No. You just need to get used to it. It's not that complicated. Complicated? No, it's simple concept. You just need to get used to it. But we are not done. We are not done because that's the simplest one. You don't need a break. Let me finish here as the second half. All of it is break for you. It's just few concepts and I'm done. So that you know now how to create a class. You know now what is a constructor. You know now what is a keywords is. You know now that you can create multiple functions inside your class. So you can create 10, 20, whatever you want to. You know now each time you create an instance or an object from the class, the function on the class, it will be directly, it will be available inside the object. Okay. Constructor, you know what's the constructor now. Class method, you know what is a class method now. Inheritance, that's quite interesting. So what's interesting is, let me show you this one. I need to remove this one here. And I need to, actually, let me delete the button class. I don't need it anymore. Let me go here to my main. So what is inheritance? What is a dog? What category is the dog belong to? Animal. So let me create a class animal. So I need to say class animal. And here I need to create my class. Of course, I will need to constructor. And here maybe I can just say pass the name here. So what properties a dog can have? What's the properties the dog can have? He can have a name. He can have an age. He can have different stuff, right?
Breed,
I'm sorry. Wait.
that's breed. Breed, B-E.
Yeah, breed. So the breed here. Breed. I think it's like that written, if I'm not mistaken.
Without the.
Let's see. Breed. Oh, yeah, maybe here. Now, as you can see, I'm passing different data like that. I don't like that. Why? Agnieszka, focus with me. This is important. Agnieszka, focus with me. I don't like to pass my variable separated to my constructor. It will be better just to pass one object, indeed. So what I can do here, I can just pass one object and I can name it dog data. Okay. Now here, can you remind me what I named the function? What did I name the function when I try to initialize my data? What did I name the function? Initialize data, I name it, right? Initialize data, if I'm not mistaken. So initialize data. And here, let me create this method. Initialize is not correct, so let me get rid of this one. And now here I need to call my method and pass the data directly. So let me just say this dot initialize data. And now here, of course, I need to pass my data here, dog data like that. Also, we have another method. What it was DOM. But here, I'm not planning to create any DOM, okay? I'm just planning to create the data and maybe one or two other methods. Okay, initialize data. I will need to receive my data here. And now here, I need to say this dot data. It will be equal to dog data. Okay, fine. So what normally does a dog do? What normally does a dog do? So he's bark normally, or what? He walk. What actions a dog do? So here, yeah. So let's create a method called bark. It's bark with B or P. So that's correct?
Yes.
Nice for it.
Correct, yeah. So bark here, and all I have to do now here, I'm just going to do say console.log bark. By the way, you can create the method here as an arrow function if you want to, but I'm gonna just create it this way. It's fine. And here the dog also walk, I think, right? It walk like that. So as you can, I'm sorry, the animal and all animal bark or not? All animal bark, because I am in animal actually. Maybe it's not a good idea to name it dog data. Maybe I can name it animal data. Animal data. So it will be general animal actually. Animal, and animal. So I've just modified because I want to make it general. All animal bark? No, but all of them walk, I think, right? All of them eat, right? Eat like that, like that. Okay, now animals is very huge category, is very huge class. Dog, does dog belong to the animal or not? So let me create another class called dog. So I can just say class dog. And now I can be smart a little bit and I say extend. And you may tell me, what is extend? I'll show you now what is extend. Animal. And here I will do the same as you can see. So notice here, whenever I create a dog class, I will pass my data here, dog data, and I need to call this method super. Whenever I extend another class, a class from another class, I need to use this super. Why? because this super here, it will invoke this animal class. So it will run this constructor and I will have this data here. You did not understand it. Let me show you now. Let me create a new dog. So I can just say const dog. It's equal to new dog. And here I need to pass maybe few data. Let's say new dog. I will pass the name, the age, and maybe, I don't know, color. For now, it's fine. Let me do something now. Agnieszka, please focus with me. I just need 15 minutes. Okay, I have a question for you. I have simple question for you. What method do I have on the class dog? What method do I have on the class dog? What method do I have on the class dog? Bark. So now simply I can use dog.bark, right? Like that. And now if I go to the console, I should see bark. Good. But can I use walk and eat with dog? Why? But they are not inside my class dog. Why?
But you extend it to the
Okay.
animal.
So that's what extend. So I have an animal class which has some property. I have a dog class which I only have one method bark. But when I extend dog, when I extend animal to dog, all the method on the animal, it will be inherited. It will automatically be available on the dog. And that's what we call inheritance. That's the class dog class. It will inherit the method from the animal class. That's what you call inheritance. That's super important because if there is no inheritance, I need to create another two method, walk, eat, like that. And if I do it, for example, dog, cat, like that, it will be very annoying. Here, I don't have to create these two methods here. No, not at all. Even if I have some variable here, for example, I create a variable and let's name it test, like that. Test, and here test is equal to something, for example, hello. Hello. Hello world, for example, it's like that. Now, this dog class, it will also inherit this variable if I want to. It will inherit it as well. So it will inherit the property and also it will inherit the method from the parent here, from the parent class, which is animal. But you need to remember something. In the constructor, when I'm passing dog data, you need to call super. What do I mean by super? So super here, it will call this constructor, this constructor, and it will pass the data here. And this super here, it will allow you to inherit this data. So you need to call super. If you don't call super, it will not work. Yes? Yes, Agnieszka.
So it's-
Adding something, but if you would like to remove,
This super is will calling this one. Because as you can see, I am not creating any instance from class animal. So the constructor here, it will not be run. You got my point? Am I initializing, am I creating any instance from animal? Am I creating new animal? No. So this function here, it will not run. But I want this data, I want this method from animal. So I need to call the constructor. And super means run this constructor and pass this dog data to here. Okay? So super just means run this constructor of animal.
but if I have an animal with a normal animal, but for example, it doesn't walk. So I don't want to walk, but I want to add something.
Swim, for example.
Yes.
Okay, so what you can do here, you can, instead of name it walk, you can say movement.
But
I know. Just notice here. I will name it, instead of walk, I will name it movement. Okay? Movement, like that. Okay? Or move, or no, actually, let's name it move. It will be better. Move. How is this one move here? Well, I don't know. This guy, it depends really. Now, the dog does not swim. Here, let's just say swim. For example, the default value is swim. Does the dog swim? Well, let's say the dog does not swim. For example, what I can do, notice what I can do. And now here I can, the movement of the dog is not swim, it's walk. So I can override this method if I want to. How can I override this method? It's simple. All I have to do, just copy the same method exactly, put it here, and instead of swim, I can just say walk. And now this class, it will inherit the move, but because it has the same names, the same the same function name, this one it's going to override this one. So that's what we that's what you call what do we call it in C#? Overload. We call it overload. So the overload mean if this one here, this movement does not imply to this animal, of course, it will not be applied to the all animal because animal is different. So I can create the same method and then I can define it. And now if I say dog dot move, what do you think it will happen? It will just type swim or walk. Whoa, so it will be, of course, walk, as you can see. Voila. And of course, if I don't have a move and I try to execute it, it will be swim. And voila, as you can see. So that's what you call overload. You guys the idea? Is it clear how can I extend from another class? This is very, very useful. Imagine if you have a class with a lot of property. And now let's say human with a lot of property. And then you have one person, let's say Jack. Jack is human. Instead of creating all these methods, repeating all this code, I can just extend my class and inherit all this property, inherit all this method from the class human. Cool? What else do I have? I think I'm almost done. So that's inheritance, static methods, that's super important. So what is static? Let me stick with animal. Now, it's 7 hours. Let's finish after the second half, it's for you. So far, whenever I call this, now I have just class animal. So far, each time I want to call this method move or eat, I need to create an object, then call it, right? I cannot use move or eat. On the class, I cannot use it because first I need to create an instant. For example, I can name it fish or whatever I want to. Animal, let's just name it animal. I need to create a new instant. And after that, when I create the new instant, I can just say animal dot, voila, that's my method is available. Now move, I can use it. Voila. So each time I want to use this method, swim. Each time I want to use a method inside the class or use property inside the class, I need to create an instant object. But is there a way where I can use this method without creating an instant? What if I don't want to create an instant? I just want to use this method here, move and eat, without creating an object. Can I do that? Can I do that or not? How? It's super simple. It's super simple. All I have to do, go to here and add just one keyword. We call it static. And here add static. Now static mean, notice, static mean this method is available on the class, but it's not available on the instant. So if I want to use, for example, move, I can just type the name animal, see, dot move. Voila, like that. And that's the static method. But what if I create, let's try to create an instance. So I will name it const animal1. Animal, it's equal to new animal. And now let's see if we have the same method on the instant or not. Animal dot, well, I don't have it. Where is my move? Where is this method here? Where is these two? Where is move? Where is eat? I don't have them. Why? Why I don't have the move and the eat? Because these methods are static. And static means simply I can only use them with the class like that, animal.move. But when I create an instant, I will not inherit the object. It will not take this method from the class. And that's simply what is static method. We can even use static property as well. Is the idea clear what is static? So whenever you want something to available only on the class and not on the instant, you can just use static and voila. Simple. That's static. What else? What else? I need to use get and setter private field. Yes. I will not use this one. Let me just explain getter and setter and we should be fine. Yeah. Fine. I have my constructor here. And let me just not do this one actually. I don't want to initialize any data or anything for now. Yeah, just like that. And I don't need this test like that. I'm not sure if I can, I don't need the constructor, all of it, let's say. For now, I don't need it. What I'm explaining, a getter and setter. So I will need the constructor actually. Like that, like that. And the constructor here, let's say, what? It's, yeah. But this is important. I mean, you need to be
I
here.
need to pick up my order.
Let's take a 10-minute break. And after that, I will explain just the getter and setter, and we should be done. Because they are important, the getter and setter. Guys, Goldkin. Okay, we've seen the method. We said if I want the method to be available on the instant object, I can just type the method. If I want it to be available on the class, just add static. Same for variable. If I want this variable to be only available on the class, so I will just say static type. Here we don't say const or let, we don't define, just the name of the variable, that's it. Because we are inside the class. Same for function, I don't need to put the keyword function. So here, if I want to access this stuff here, I can just say log animal.type. And if I go to animal.type, it should give me animal, as you can see. So here, this variable here, which is a type, it exists only in the class. If I want to, because it's static. But if I want it to be available on the object, what should I do? If I want it to be available only on the object, what should I do? Let's see, let's create an object. Const animal1. It's equal to new element. And now what I can do here, I can just say animal, let's just log animal.type. And voila, it's working. So if I want it to be available on the object, I can just declare it as a normal variable like that. Type dot, it's equal to animal. If I want it to be available on the class, just static type is equal to animal. That's it. And we have the last one, something new actually, which is called static field. So let me see, getter and setter, I did not explain them. Private field. So no, let me just explain the getter and setter. If I do something like that, if I have a variable and let's say this variable is type, it's equal to, let's say, animal. Now, if I did not allow, let me get rid of this one. I have something called type, as you can see. What I want to do, I want the user to be able to change the type. If I want the user to be able to change the type, so I'm not gonna export this one, I'm just gonna save it. So what I can do here, I can just create a method. And this method, for example, I can just say get type here. And what I can do here, and I can return, yeah, I can return the type. Just like that. Wait a second. Return this dot type. So as you can see here, if I want to get the type, I can create a method and I say return this dot type. That's what we call getter. So getter are function allow us to get some value. This value is type here. If I want to get something, I can create a method and I can just say get type, or maybe I can just name it get because it's getters like that. So get, what's going to do here, it will give me the value. Now, if I want to set the value, if I want to allow the user to set this type, change this type, I can use setter here, which is called something called set. And of course, setter here, I will be able to pass a value. And here I can change say the type to the value. What do I mean by that? Let me create a new instant. And now what I can do, I can just say animal. Let me log. And now here, if I want to get the animal, I can just say animal.get type. If I'm not mistaken, I think that should work. Let's see. No, it's return me the function. So what I want to do here, I need to execute it to get the value. But actually, we should have predefined something called getter and setter. And now here, if I want to change the value, I can just say animal dot set. And here I can pass the value here, which is fish. So I can modify this value. So as you can see, I will not allow the user to change this value, but I'm gonna allow the user to get the value and set the value if I want to. And that's what we call getter and setter. Is the idea a bit clear or not? Maybe I can have better examples. So let me just see here. Getter and setter in JavaScript. JavaScript object accessory. Getter and setter we can use.
But only with classes.
Most of the time we use it with classes when we want to get a value. That's why we name it getter. And when we want to set the value, change the value. Let me see if there's any good example here. Yeah, for example, this one here. Get name.
It's the same which you explained.
Yeah, the same I explained. This getter and setter. But normally in other, for example, in C#, the getter and setter, you don't need to do anything because you just need to pass the value. Automatically C# handles this one, but it looks like that in JavaScript, we cannot do this one. So this dot's first name, it's equal to new name. So as just like I explained, so what are getter and setter simply? Let me remove all of that. And let's say I have one property, which is called animal type like that. Now, if this type here or this property here on my class or on my object, if I want to change it, if I allow the user to change it, well, all I have to do, I need to create a function. We'll just name it get like that. And now here I need to return this value. So I will just return this dot type. But now here, if now I cannot set the value. I can get the value, as you can see, but I cannot set the value because I have no way to set this value. Sometimes there is some stuff I don't want the user to be able to change. And like that, as you can see, I only have getter, but I don't have setter. So I can get the value if I want to, but I cannot change the value. I cannot set it. But sometimes I want the user to be able to get the value and also change the value. For example, here, let's name it age. Instead of type, let's just name it age. Age like that. And each dog, probably he will have different age. So here, if let's say, for example, he's 2 years old, and here I'll just modify this one with age. So whenever I create an animal here, I can get his age if I want to. As a default value, it will be 2. But what if I want to change the age? This age is not correct for this dog, for example. Well, what I can do here, I can use setter. So I can use just set, which is the method, as you can see. And here I can just say, this dot age, it's equal to age. And I need to pass the value I want to inside the setter. Now, let's try to set the value here after I create my instant. All I have to do, I just say animal1 dot set. And now here I can pass any age I want to, for example, 10. And now here, if I pass, if I want to try to log this value, it will not give me 2, it will give me 10. Why? Because I changed the value to 10. For my dog, his age is 10. For the template dog, he's 2, but my dog is not 2. I want to change it to 10. But there's some value, for example, the user balance, if it's in bank, I should not allow the user to set this value, okay? But I should allow the user to get the value, to see the value. Is the idea clear? So that's what we call getter and setter. They're just function. Getter gets the value, this dot whatever value I want to pass. I need to return all the time. Getter return something. So getter here all the time need to return something because they get something. That's why we call them getter. And all the time setter here need to take a value here, and then I can set the value if I want to change the value. Do you understand what is getter and setter? And that should be okay for now.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between console logging the getter and console logging, let's say, animal.age?
What's the difference between console.log animal? So animal like that, dot age. Okay.
Can you create a new
Instant.
instance?
Let me create a new instance. Const. And here animal is equal to new animal. And now let's log animal. Now I cannot get the age like that. I need to say animal. I need to use a setter. Animal.get. Like that.
You cannot get it without
Sorry?
you cannot console log it without the getter.
Yeah, let's log it and see. Oh, come on. That should be okay. If I go here, I have two and I have undefined. Animal.age does not exist, Ejid. So this one. Because yes, because animal here is a class. This value does not in the class. This one does exist on the instant. If I want it to be available on the class, I need to say static. Remember? So static, that means it's now it will be available on the class. But if I don't have static, it will not be available. I can't access it using animal.age. It's undefined. Okay, but it will be available on the instant because now this one belongs to the instant.
No, but if you use animal variable here,
Let's see animal dot.
it's the same.
No, it shouldn't be the same. Animal dot. So getting them should be the same, yes. But I think in JavaScript we have something called private. Let's see if we have private. Private. So here it will be no different, but I think in JavaScript we should have something called private. But I'm not sure if in JavaScript we have something. Do we have? How can we make a property in a class private JavaScript? Because in C# and the Java we have used private flag, yes, but I should have private here. Let's see. Private does not exist here. Can only use in TypeScript. Yeah, but we don't have this one here. Ah, okay. So to make it private in JavaScript, I need to add a hash like that. Something like that. Now let's try to do it the same way you told me, Ejid. So I will say animal dot, and now I will try to get age. I still have age. Shouldn't have age actually. But let's type age and see. Clicky. Age is undefined, as you can see. So now I cannot access it. So all the time in JavaScript, if I want to make a property private, I need to proceed it with hash like that symbol. And now, as you can see, I cannot access it from my instance. I cannot access it from class. I cannot access it from anything. But I can only access it using now the getter. And now if I go to get like that, and try now, I think we should add, yeah, this dot age. Let's see if that will work. And like that. And let's see if that will work or not. And as you can see, I have two. Voila. And now, because I make this property private, no one will be able to change it at all. If I don't use this setter, if I don't have this setter, I will never be able to change it. It's not possible. Only if I have this one here, then I will be able to change the value. So let's now try to change the value. What I'm going to do here, I'm gonna use my animal one dot set to 3, and then if I log it now, it should give me 3, and voila, it's give me 3. But if I don't have setter here, and let's try to, I will not be able to modify it. It's not possible. I can just only get it. Cool? That's it. So that's how we make a property private. That means it's only available, only I can get them by using the function getter and setter, and that's the point of getter and setter. I think that's all the point related to the classes in JavaScript. Of course, there's a lot of other, especially in Java and C#, we don't have just a single this keyword. We have a lot of different keywords. For example, the class could be external, could be internal. For example, we can make it private, we can make it public. So we have a lot of what we call access modifier, but it does not exist in JavaScript. It exists in Java and C#. Let me show you quickly one project. You have the project already. So if you go to my GitHub account, click on this one and go to JavaScript like that. Currently, I think I have a few projects, not too much. I currently have 4. So let me go to basic calculator. And as you can see in basic calculator, I have a folder called classes. So I want now to create my button. Notice what I do. I'm creating a class button. Then here, I'm in the constructor, I'm passing the button data. I'm initializing my data. As you can see, this dot data, everything. And now I want one of you tell me why I'm using this or. Can anyone tell me why I'm using this or? Why I am using button data.text or text? Why? Why I'm using it this way? So let's say for some reason, when data, I am getting my data, the text does not exist. So here, if button data.text, if it's falsy value, it will go to the other side and it will give it value text. Because if I don't have this value, my class will throw an error. And I'm trying to avoid that by making a default value. So if I don't have the text, I will say or make a text. If I don't have the button type, I want it to be button. If I don't have the ID, I want it to make it empty string. If I don't do this way, I will have an error in my class, and that's not what I want to. All the time, you need to provide a default data for your data. Maybe some reason when you get the data from the backend, some data are missing. So if I don't handle this case like that, it will throw an error and my application will crash. Is the idea clear? Okay, after that, I'm just DOM. And after that, as you can see from this data, I'm destruction all these values, and I'm just setting my data, I'm returning the main, and then I'm destroying, just like I show you. That's one button. Now I want to create a list of the button, row of button. So if I go to the classes again, I have another class called row. Remember, the row is not just one button, it's 4 button for the calculator. So 4, 4, 4. So here I need to use the class button. Row, same idea, I'm getting row data, I'm initializing my data, same idea. And button here, row data dot button, it will be an array because I have 4 buttons. Same idea, I'm creating a DOM. Here it will be div because I want to put all my buttons inside one div. And here when I'm rendering it, I'm trying to, here I'm adding a class to my div. Then for each button, I'm looping through them. I'm creating a new button, then I'm adding it to my div. And then here, if I want to destroy it, I can just say this.dom.main. I will destroy is a div if I want to. Now, normally the button, I name it all the time main. That means that's the main DOM because the div here, it's the parent here. It includes every button inside it. Clear? And of course, now what I can do now, if I go now to my main.jsx, now I'm just importing my row. I'm selecting my container and my display container. It will contain the button. The display, it will show the number. That's my button data. So here, what I'm doing here, I'm looping through my button data for each button here. For each row, as you can see, I'm passing my data to this method here. I'm structuring my data and I'm creating a new row here, as you can see. So I'm structuring my data. I'm creating a new row. I'm passing all the button data. Buttons here is array. It's 4 button. I'm creating a new row. Then I'm adding the row to the container. And that's my function here, which will handle the button. And handle button, I'm passing it to each button, which is the on click here. Voila. And that's simple like that. You have the code, of course. You can go through it. And if you have any question, you can let me know. Okay, Rodika? I have 3, 4 examples. All the time I'm using classes with JavaScript here. It's vanilla JavaScript. But if you're going to use React, you don't need to actually. Any question? Question. Also, you have this MD file. If you want to go back to the class here, it's nice MD actually to explain a few stuff here. So yeah. I'm going to stop the recording.